Ray, Carlos, the finals are set. Just what can you say about what you're expecting on New Year's Eve at Madison Square Garden?
More of what just happened tonight. I mean, you know, when it got to the later parts of the show and the semifinals were set, it just blew the roof off the house. So, I mean, Nathan and Chris Wade, that fight of the night. I mean, those guys really went out there and they showed that they really wanted it. You know what I mean? And so it was truly amazing to see these guys come out and perform the way they did.
You know, we started this journey a couple years ago. You know, we both had our perspective on how this would play out. Ray had such an interesting perspective because just like all the guys that won tonight, Ray understood what it was like to walk in to the ring in a tournament format. And you know, I've been in sports and media and in many, many tournaments of my own over the years, just in a different sport. And I think it proves out that if you leave it in the athletes and fighters' hands to win in advance, they're going to put on a great show. And at the end of the day, you can say what you want about all of this, but we now have 6 finalists, and they are the winners. They're ready to go. We're going to have a couple more now when we go to Washington, D.C. next week, but they won. They won, they advance, and they'll get to go to Madison Square Garden and try to win $1 million each. So it's really played out well. Playoff 1 in New Orleans, great. Playoff 2 here in Long Beach, great. And we're looking forward to a great playoff on October 20th in Washington, D.C. with the 170s and 85s to finish it out.
Ray, it wouldn't be, you know, there was some controversy. Nathan, Chris Wade, obviously a close fight, and I know that Chris was talking to you through the cage. Just first off, how did you see the fight? Did you have Nathan winning, or did you give it to Chris?
I thought the judges got it right. I mean, the first two rounds were very close, but I thought Nathan edged it. The last round, it was obvious Chris won that round because he threw a hell of a lot more shots and landed a hell of a lot more. But in my opinion, Chris, at that point, Chris needed to finish to actually win that fight, especially because it was so close. And again, you never know how the judges are going to close it. You know, how they're going to score it. And yeah, they scored it in Nathan's favor. I mean, it was a close fight. It was a good fight. Unfortunately,
it was a great fight.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's got to be a winner and a loser. And in my opinion, none of those guys lost, because I mean they put on a hell of a fight.
Will there be a possible rematch for them in 2019?
Oh, it's very possible. That's the second time they fought. Nathan won the first fight in the regular season, so now they've met in the semifinals, and Nathan's won it again. So, listen, when you have that kind of fight, the rematch is always going to be great.
Well, that's the beauty of this regular season playoff and championship format is we can go right back into 2019, and Ray, as he starts to look at the matches for the regular season, the fans want to see that fight. Right. That's a fight that can happen. And so that's the beauty of doing it. They still got to win in the regular season to advance to the playoffs and then eventually win that $1 million at the end of the year.
Right, absolutely.
Speaking of next year, do you guys already have a format for what you guys want to do? Is the champion who wins at the end of this year going to be in the tournament again, or is there going to be a physical title that they're going to defend in 2019?
Well, you know, just like any sport, whether it's the Capitals that won the Stanley Cup, you know, we're in the middle of the baseball playoffs now, or March Madness. At the end of that season, there's a world champion. So on December 31st in Madison Square Garden, Ray's going to put the belt around 6 world champions, and they will always be the 2018 PFL world champion in their weight class. Then they'll come back in 2019, and they will try to become the champion again by winning. But they've got to go through a regular season, a playoffs, and a championship the same way that any sports team or any individual needs to. And I think, you know, that's going to be very exciting to see who can defend and maybe become a 2-time, you know, 2 in a row or 3 in a row champion. It'll be the most difficult thing probably in sport to do that. But that's the beauty of our sport format. It's a true sport format.
Since the next season is supposed to be longer, is there any change to the pay structure?
Not right now. No, we're looking at the same thing in 2019. It's not all sorted out. We may open it up a bit, give the fighters a little more rest between round 1 and round 2 of the regular season. But so far, the regular season held up really well. The point system held up nearly perfectly, and I got to say the playoffs have held up great. Even tonight, we had a rule around what would happen with a lucky loser. Unfortunately, Islam couldn't continue, and Thiago Tavares ended up moving forward, and that was based on the way that we had laid out the rules and regulations. I'm happy to say that a lot of hard work from me, Ray, and the team, it held up there.
What happened to Islam? Do we know what the injury is that prevented him from going further?
We were told that he had, threw up twice. Now we don't know if he was coming into the fight with a little bit of a cold, or the two left hooks that they both threw in the fight, because remember they both dropped each other.
They both
we don't know if that effect, Thiago's left hook was a lot more effective than his, you know what I mean? So both of those things probably had something to do with it. But he's back from the hospital and he's good.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, what happened to the alternate that won earlier in the preliminary matches?
So the way it works is that the lucky loser is, so as Collins and I were matching. Well, actually, let's just use Thiago and
Islam.
Islam. So Islam won the fight, but Thiago lost.
Right.
Once Islam couldn't continue, the first alternate is the guy that actually he lost.
Okay.
And then it goes down to who's the highest seeded alternates before it gets to the alternate that fought in the beginning of the night.
Got it. Understood.
So it rolls down by seed, and then we sort of have a safety net with an alternate fight in case it rolled down 4 lucky losers and we would need a 5th.
We also heard rumors that there was some sort of tension with Will Brooks yesterday. Has that been sorted out?
Oh yeah, I mean there was no tension. Everybody was cutting weight. They had a few questions. We had a few things that we needed to make clear to the fighters. But no, it was nothing.
Was that the reason why Will Brooks sort of had a confrontation with you after his bout tonight? Because it seemed like there was a heated little confrontation, but I couldn't tell from where I was.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there was Will was. Everybody was cutting weight yesterday. Everybody was under pressure for the fights tonight. All the fighters were fighting a what do you call it? Quarterfinal, semifinal fight. So all these kind of things.
They all play.
It was nothing.
Yeah, they all play into the fight game. Will and I had a great discussion after his fight, after he got cleaned up and came over. We chatted. We talked about next year and his future, and even him coming out in New York City, since he's a local guy in New York City, and helping us promote the championship as a true PFL member of the roster, which is important.
Speaking of next season, do you guys have any plans to return to Southern California?
We haven't laid out the season schedule for next year, but I have to tell you, Long Beach was great. We really like the California Commission. Andy Foster, Sean, and the whole team were great. So absolutely it'll be on our short list as we look at 2019 for sure.
And with the longer season next year, will there be the women involved in a tournament as well?
Yeah, well, that we signed Kayla Harrison. Ray and the team are looking at the roster. 155 women for next year, and in the next, literally probably the next 30, 45 days, that'll come together as we start to put together that 2019 roster.
How impressed were you with Vinny Magalay's performance tonight and just his overall performance throughout the season?
I'll let Ray answer that question.
I mean, when Ali, his manager, talked to me about signing him for the season, I wasn't really too sure, and so we had further discussions and decided to give him an opportunity. And did he take this opportunity to the highest level? I mean, he even says so himself that he's never been so focused about fighting ever before. And obviously we've seen he's fought 4 times and 4 finishes all in the first round.
Right.
That's telling you something where this guy is just, he definitely wants to be champion. It's funny though, because when we talked again, not long after, well, actually after he won his second regular season fight, he was more excited about having the belt around his waist than the $1 million. Now that's going to come into play, obviously, but he was really excited about becoming champion. So you can tell where his mindset is at and where he wants to go with this.
He also just looks so fit. I mean, he looks very fit, very agile, very athletic. And I mean, you're seeing it. I mean, the moves that he's making and the way he's wrapping guys up is really amazing. So look, but now you got to go on. You got to win the finals. I mean, that's all now behind you. He's got a finalist, and it's going to be a great, matchup on December 31st.
And how proud are you guys of Sean O'Connell? I mean, Sean was.
Ray couldn't stop laughing.
I couldn't stop laughing in there because, Sean is one of these guys like. again, listen, he does commentating for us, but when I look at Sean, he's not that fight. He's not the fighter, just the way he looks, right? He looks like just a gentleman that sits behind and call fights. But man, don't make a mistake, because I can just imagine some people going, "Yeah, what?" And Sean goes, "Crack."
Just takes one.
Yeah, right. I mean, I was super excited for him. Super proud of Sean. I mean, it's just funny to me that there's this guy that, again, looks really unassuming, but he goes in there and wrecks people.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And you know, and just, I mean, you got to give him credit tonight too, because 100%. I think he got a little gas in the first quarterfinal. He got through it, and you know, he came out in the semifinals, and you could see it in his eyes. He wanted it, and it got him through it, and that's really amazing. So we're happy for everyone that made it through. We're happy about the way all the fighters performed tonight. You know, Ray tells them all the time when we have these fighter meetings that, you know, when you step in the cage, you gotta, you know, you have to respect what you're doing, you have to respect the hard work, but then you've gotta leave it all in the cage.
Yeah,
and I think we continue to see that with the finishes, and even this great decisions like, you know, Nathan and Chris, you know, had tonight, which was definitely the fight of the night.
Yeah,
for sure. So we noticed that there was a proper 12 logo on the cage floor. Is that an ongoing partnership, or was this a one-off chance?
No, you'll see. Yeah, you'll see the proper 12 logo for the rest of the season with us. Really happy to be partnering with them. And you know, it's a great new brand, and it's, you know, it's in and around fighting, obviously, with, you know, Connor's affiliation and ownership with it. But yeah, we're super happy to have it there in the cage.
Are you guys going to be celebrating with some proper 12 tonight?
Ray will probably be having a ginger beer, because that's about as heavy a drink as Ray has, and I probably will take a break tonight. It's been a long week, and it's just, you know, we're sort of celebrating because it was just such a great night. So, you know, again, done with the second playoff night, really great performances, and on to Washington, D.C. and our nation's capital.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.